Welcome to Politics Nation. We begin with the GOP's big challenge: how to talk about something, anything, besides Donald Trump. Today, these candidates wanted to focus on health care and national security, but all the attention is on Trump's push to end citizenship for babies born in the United States to undocumented parents. Some say he's wrong.
Well, I'm open to doing things that prevent people who deliberately come to the U.S. for purposes of taking advantage of the 14th Amendment, but I'm not in favor of repealing it.
I don't support amending the Constitution to kick out kids who were born here.
To suggest that people born in this country are not United States citizens and they don't have this in the Constitution, I just reject out of hand.
But Bobby Jindal agrees with Trump. He tweeted, quote, "We need to end birthright citizenship for illegal immigrants." And another candidate couldn't decide what he thinks. Scott Walker first said he agreed with Trump, but hours later, he wasn't sure.
No, I pointed out that I understand why people are concerned about that. What I've said about any of these issues is until we secure the border and start enforcing the laws, Americans aren't going to trust politicians in Washington to do anything else.
So did you misspeak, or were you...
No, we had a 3-hour roving gaggle there, and so you answer part of a question, somebody turns and asks me something. My point is, yeah, I empathize with people who have concerns about that.
So what does Scott Walker think? This issue won't go away. Donald Trump is leading yet in another poll and forcing the GOP to confront his issues, including if America should deport babies who the Constitution says are U.S. citizens. Let's talk about it with Tara Dowdell and Mo Elleithee. Donald Trump seems to be really guiding the conversation, dominating what's going on. No matter what else they try to get around, Donald Trump is the not 600-pound thing in the room, because I don't want people tweeting that I called him a gorilla, but he is the object they're trying to get around, Tara.
And he's the immovable object they're
Right.
trying to get around, because he's remained immovable in the polls, which is a big problem for the GOP. And yes, to your point, he is dominating the conversation, because one advantage, huge advantage, or in the words of Trump, huge advantage that he has over the other contenders is that he understands how to dominate the news cycle. Not only is it just his celebrity status, but he actually understands how the media works and how to manipulate the cycle.
Mo, he has become the dominant force in the Republican primary, in the process right now, taking all the oxygen out, and now making some very extreme proposals. Now, he's solid in the polls as being way ahead. But now you're talking about deporting babies of immigrants that are undocumented, that really talks about repealing the 14th Amendment, which takes congressional votes, states, things that are really complex and hard to do. Is he digging himself in a position where he's going to not look just extreme, but like he doesn't even understand government? Do you know what you have to do to overturn the 14th Amendment?
Look, he's doing exactly what he needs to be doing right now in a 17 or 18 person Republican primary field, right? When you got an electorate or a field that is this large and the electorate is as sliced and diced as this one is, he just, he doesn't need a lot to stay atop the field. And so he's been able to suck all the oxygen out of the room for everyone who's going after this particular sliver of the electorate. Note, 75% of Republican primary voters oppose him. He's the front runner, and 75% of Republican primary voters oppose him. So I don't know if he will ever get over that hump, if he will win the nomination. I don't think he will. Most Republicans I know don't think he will. And I certainly don't think he gets elected president of the United States. But what he is doing, more than anything else, is keeping a lot of other serious voices in the Republican field keeping their voices silent, because they're not able to break through for the reasons that we just talked about.
But despite the fact there are some serious voices that you're not hearing, the fact of the matter is, Tara, the field is all over the place, even on this issue. You know, at least 6 candidates at some point have said they support ending birthright citizenship. We also heard some who oppose it. John Kasich has been on both sides. And who knows what Scott Walker's thinking from one minute to the next. They're all over the place. So do you think they're happy when Trump forced them to talk about this issue when they've been bobbing and weaving on this issue all along?
They would absolutely prefer not to discuss this issue, particularly in the way that Trump is framing the conversation. And be very clear, he is framing the conversation. He has set the rules of debate, and they're arguing within the rules set forth by Trump. That is not a place any candidate wants to be, ever. You don't ever want to let someone else dictate how you debate something. But here's the other issue for the Republicans, their base. And we talk about this often, but their base, particularly the most active parts of the base, there's a very strong xenophobic, anti-immigration strain in their base. And so that is the problem. Another problem, Trump or no Trump. Remember, Eric Cantor, and people forget this, Eric Cantor, the powerful leader in the Congress, was defeated on this issue, on the immigration issue. Now, granted, there were other factors at play, but that was a driving reason why he lost his House seat, despite how powerful he was and despite all the money he had. This issue is a difficult issue for the Republicans when they navigate the primary.
Well, you know, Mo, Governor Kasich of Ohio used to be, said he would wanted to end birthright citizenship, but now he doesn't know. NBC's Kelly O'Donnell asked him why. Take a listen to this.
What did you learn about birthright citizenship that changed your opinion?
I just spent time on the whole issue, and I'm to the point now where I'm extremely concerned about efforts that divide us in this country, and I'm more interested in the kinds of things that can unite us, and we have bigger fish to fry.
Mo, your reaction? He just wants to unite us. He doesn't want to divide us anymore as he thinks things through.
Well, look, I think there are a couple of Republicans in this field who may have learned a lesson from 2012. In 2012, when you had some of the more extreme members of the Republican field make outrageous statements, everyone, including Mitt Romney, rushed to embrace that position. This year, the field is a little bit more divided. Some of them are rushing. Bobby Jindal. Bobby Jindal's the happiest guy in the world right now because you just mentioned his name on national television. Had it not been for this issue, no one would be mentioning his name. But others are a little bit more wary about how they're going to embrace this kind of rhetoric or how they're going to address this kind of rhetoric because they know the Republican Party cannot afford one day longer to be seen as divisive against Latinos and divisive against women. And so Donald Trump is putting those candidates in a very tough spot. Now, Kasich's problem is he's got a record and he's got previous statements that he's got to reconcile. But, at least maybe some of these candidates deserve a little credit that they're not rushing to embrace this, these most bombastic statements the way the entire field did last time.
But let me ask you, Tara, before we get out of this segment, something that was very interesting to me. A new poll finds that Trump is the most trusted candidate by Republican voters on a number of issues. 45% trust him the most on the economy. 44% trust him to handle illegal immigration. 32% trust him to deal the best with ISIS. I mean, does that mean we'll see more candidates copying Trump since he's got these high numbers in various areas of trust from Republican voters?
These numbers are not lost on the Republican Party candidates. Obviously, they're poring over this polling every single day. But again, their problem is that they're trying to imitate Trump. But a big reason why Trump's numbers are the way they are is because he is not a politician. And so the fact that Trump is rising in the polls and people say, oh, it's so early, it's this. But there's some things that you can glean this early. And one thing that you can glean is the fact that Trump is so popular says more about the candidates who are running than it does about him. The fact that people are gravitating to someone like him with no experience that's saying really outlandish things that can't even be implemented and show a lack of understanding of government, that says more about the pool, the state that the party is in.
More quickly, Trump has been very specific, probably too specific for moderate Republicans on immigration. But he hasn't been that specific on what he do about health care. Watch this.
On my very first day as President of the United States, I will send legislation to the Congress to once and for all repeal Obamacare entirely.
We have to repeal and replace a health care law.
The first part is just repealing Obamacare entirely.
We have to repeal it, and we have to replace it with something that gives every American the opportunity to acquire the health insurance they want.
Now, here we have Walker and Rubio pounding on health care. Trump has said we've got to repeal it, never given specifics. And we're hearing from them really no specific program other than we must get rid of it, but not answering what are we going to do with 15, 16 million people.
Mark my word, this issue will not come up in the general election. This is entirely a Republican primary play. This is something that Republican primary voters want and nobody else wants. The American people have been incredibly clear in poll after poll after poll. Enough. 50-some votes to repeal the Affordable Care Act is too many for most Americans. And so this is all about primary politics. They're all trying to show how much they hate Obamacare more than anyone else to Republican primary voters. And the day after the primary is over and the general election starts, no one's going to talk about it, just like they didn't talk about it in the general election in 2014.
Tara Daddell and Mo Elleithee, thank you both for your time tonight.
Thank you.